Hey guys, I hope you're all doing really well. I'm Allure Cosplay, and today I'm gonna show you my Galadriel of Lothlorien Scry deck. Let's go! And let's start with the commander herself, Galadriel of Lothlorien. She costs 3 to cast. Whenever the ring tempts you, if you choose a creature other than Galadriel as your ring bearer, scry 3. Whenever you scry, you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card revealed this way, put it onto the battlefield tapped. There are 34 lands in this deck, 7 of which are dual lands or non-basic lands. There are 4 artifacts in this deck. The first one obviously a soul ring, the second one Mirror of Galadriel, it costs 2 to cast. It's a legendary artifact. If you pay 5 and tap, you can scry 1, then draw a card. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. Inherited Envelope costs 3 to cast. It gives me a Ring Temptation trigger as well as 1 mana of any color. And last but not least, Lothlorien Blade costs 3 to cast. Whenever equipped creature attacks, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature defending player controls. Equip Elf 2, equip 5. The majority of the creatures in this deck are elves, aside from the tokens it generates. Onyx has decided to grace us with his presence. I have Song of Arendelle, costs 5 to cast. Number 1, scry 2, then draw 2 cards. Number 2, create a treasure token and a 2/2 bluebird creature token with flying. Number 3, put a flying counter on each creature you control without flying. Next enchantment is Asceticism, costs 5 to cast. Creatures you control have hexproof. And if you tap 2, regenerate target creature. The next enchantment is Zandakar's Royal, costs 5 to cast. It has landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 green elemental creature token. With Galadriel, whenever you scry, you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card revealed this way, put it onto the battlefield tapped. That goes really well with landfall cards. Next I have Elvish Guidance. It costs 3 to cast. Enchant a land. Whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds 1 green to his or her mana pool for each elf in play. Next I have Lignify. It costs 2 to cast. Enchant a creature. Enchant a creature is a tree folk with the base power and toughness of 0 and 4 and loses all abilities. And now let's talk about the creatures. First we have Beast Whisperer, costs 4 to cast. It's a creature elf druid. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. Elvish Piper costs 4 to cast. It's an elf shaman. If you tap 1 green and the creature, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Well-Wisher costs 2 to cast. If you tap it, you gain 1 life for each elf on the battlefield. Next I have Rampaging Baloth. It costs 6 to cast. It has Trample, but it also has Landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you may create a 4/4 green beast creature token. Mirkwood Elk costs 6 to cast. It has Trample. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, return target elf card from your graveyard to your hand. Gain life equal to that card's power. Legolas Greenleaf costs 3 to cast. It has Reach. It can't be blocked by creatures with the power 2 or less. Whenever another legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Legolas. Whenever Legolas deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Next we have Erwin, Weaver of Hope. She costs 3 to cast. Each other creature you control enters the battlefield with a number of additional 1/1 counters on it equal to Erwin's toughness. Realm Seekers cost 6 to cast. Realm Seekers enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it, where X is the total number of cards in all players' hands. Tap 3, remove a 1/1 counter from Realm Seekers, search your library for a land, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Dunedain Rangers cost 6 to cast. It has landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, if you don't control a ring bearer, the ring tempts you. Nimrodel Watcher costs 2 to cast. Whenever you scry, this card gets +1/+0 until the end of turn. It can be blocked this turn. This ability triggers only once each turn. Haldir Lothlorien Lieutenant costs X +1 green to cast. The Lieutenant enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. It has Vigilance. If you tap 6 until the end of turn, other elves you control gain Vigilance and get +1/+1 for each 1/1 counter on Haldir. Deathbloom Gardener costs 3 to cast. It has Death Touch and it can tap for 1 mana of any color. Reclamation Sage costs 3 to cast. When it enters the battlefield, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. Elvish Warmaster costs 2 to cast. Whenever 1 or more other elves enter the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. If you pay 7, elves you control get +2/+2 and gain Death Touch until the end of turn. Spore Mound costs 5 to cast. It has landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green sprawling creature token. Caliborn the Wise costs 3 to cast. Whenever you attack with one or more elves, scry 1. Whenever you scry, Caliborn the Wise gets +1/+1 until the end of turn for each card looked at while scrying this way. Elrond, Lord of Rivendell, costs 3 to cast. Whenever Elrond or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, the ring tempts you. Elrond of the White Council costs 5 to cast. When it enters the battlefield, each player secretly votes for Fellowship or Aid, then those votes are revealed. For each Fellowship vote, the voter chooses a creature they control. You gain control of each creature chosen this way, and they gain this creature can attack its owner. Then for each Aid vote, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Elrond, Master of Healing, costs 4 to cast. When you scry, put a 1/1 counter on each up to X target creatures, where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying this way. Whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on, it becomes the target of a spell ability on opponent controls, you may draw a card. Farhaven Elf costs 3 to cast. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library. Legolas, Counter of Kills, costs 4 to cast. It has reach. Whenever you scry, if Legolas is tapped, you may untap it. Do this only once each turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a 1/1 counter on Legolas. Multiple choice, you pay X and 1 blue. If X is 1, scry 1, then draw a card. If X is 2, then you may choose a player. They return a creature they control to their owner's hand. If X is 3, create a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token. If X is 4 or more, do all of the above. The Ring Goes South costs 4 to cast. The ring tempts you, then reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X land cards, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. Put those land cards onto the battlefield tab, then the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Genesis Wave costs X +3 green to cast. Reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put any number of permanent cards with the mana value X or less among them onto the battlefield. Then put all the cards revealed this way that weren't put onto the battlefield into your graveyard. Devastation Tide costs 5 to cast. Return all non-land permanents to their owner's hands. You can Miracle too. Expand the Sphere costs 4 to cast. Look at the top 6 cards of your library, put up to 2 land cards from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If you put fewer than 2 lands onto the battlefield this way, proliferate a number of times equal to the difference. Rampant Growth costs 2 to cast. Search your library for a basic land card, put that card into the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Plead for Power costs 4 to cast. Starting with you, each player votes for Time or Knowledge. If Time gets more votes, take an extra turn after this one. If Knowledge gets more votes, or the vote is tied, draw 3 cards. Birthday Escape costs 1 to cast. Draw a card, the ring tempts you. Travel Through Caradhras costs 6 to cast. Starting with you, each player votes Redhorn Pass or Mines of Moria. For each Redhorn Pass vote, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped. If you search your library this way, shuffle. For each Mines of Moria, return a card from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Travel Through Caradhras. Raise the Palisade costs 5 to cast. Choose a creature type, return all creature types that aren't of the chosen type to their owner's hand. Overwhelming Stampede costs 5 to cast. Until the end of turn, creatures you control gain Trample and gain XX, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Bombadil's Song costs 2 to cast. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains hexproof until the end of turn. The ring tempts you. Entish Restoration costs 3 to cast. Sacrifice a land, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. If you control a creature with a power 4 or greater, instead search your library for up to 3 basic land cards and put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Growth Spiral costs 2 to cast. Draw a card. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Mystic Confluence costs 5 to cast. Choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Draw a card. Galadriel Ambush costs 4 to cast. Create X 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens, where X is the number of attacking creatures. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn by non-elf creatures. Soothing of Smeagol costs 2 to cast. Return target non-token creature to its owner's hand. The ring tempts you. Defend the Hearth costs 2 to cast. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to players this turn. Commencement of Festivities costs 2 to cast. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to players this turn. Contact Other Plane costs 4 to cast. Roll a d20. 1 to 9, draw 2 cards. 10 to 19, scry 2, then draw 2 cards. 20, scry 3, then draw 3 cards. Heroic Intervention costs 2 to cast. Permanent control, gain hexproof and indestructible until the end of turn. Arwen's Gift costs 4 to cast. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control 2 or more legendary creatures. Scry 2, then draw 2 cards. Wild Shift Slice costs 3 to cast. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Create a number of 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens equal to the amount of excess damage dealt this way. Beast Within costs 3 to cast. Destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. Dreadful as the Storm costs 3 to cast. Target creature has base power and toughness of 5/5 until the end of turn. The ring tempts you. Highthland Knots costs 2 to cast. Top target creature, scry 1, draw a card. Opt costs 1 to cast. Draw a card and scry 1. Press the Enemy costs 4 to cast. Return target spell or non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. You may cast an instant sorcery spell with the equal or lesser mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. Shower of Arrows costs 3 to cast. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Scry 1. Glorious Gale costs 2 to cast. Counter target creature spell. If it was a legendary spell, the ring tempts you. Elvish Archdruid costs 3 to cast. Other elves you control get +1/+1. You can tap it for 1 green for each elf you control. Horses of the Bruin cost 5 to cast. Return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hands. Scry 1. The ring tempts you. Cultivate costs 3 to cast. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards. Put 1 into the battlefield tapped and the other in your hand. Then shuffle. Preordained costs 1 to cast. Scry 2. Then draw a card. Well, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe for more random nerdy content from me. Don't forget to click the notification button so you know when I upload next. Bye!